Hi, welcome to the Pre-Snore History Hub. So today we're going to be looking at another exam question, and it will be the explain one way in which a topic, you'll be given a topic, was either similar or different. So it won't be both, it'll either be a similarity or a difference and then they will give you two different time periods to compare. So it's only worth 4 marks, this question, and it appears on the main section of the medicine paper. Therefore, this question could span from 1250 to the present day. So you could get asked to compare any two possible time periods or specific dates. Okay. And even though it's only worth 4 marks, there is quite a lot going on in this question, a lot of different things you need to look out for in order to get those 4 marks. So we're going to be really breaking it down today so that you understand what to look for before you even start attempting to answer this question. So let's have a look at an example, a specific medicine example. So first we need to read the question carefully before we dive into it, because there's lots of potential errors we could make here. There's quite a lot going on in the wording of this question. So let's just read the question at the top here. Explain one way in which people's reactions to the plague in Britain were similar in the 14th and 17th centuries. Okay, so down here on the mark scheme, if we have a little look, for 3 to 4 marks, we need to be answers compare the time periods and explain how similar things were, or it might be different if you get a difference. Specific knowledge is used to support the comparison. So before we have a go at actually answering this question, there are 3 key things that we need to look out for. So the first thing to look for is the topic that we actually need to focus on. Okay, so for this question, we are looking for people's reactions to the plague in Britain. Okay, so that is the topic that we get given. So going back to the question then, the second thing that we need to highlight is whether it's asking you for a similarity or a difference. So when you're in the exam, before you even tackle this question, I would just grab a highlighter, I would take a highlighter into the exam with you and just highlight these key things, just so that you know in your head that you're looking for a similarity, so you don't start talking about differences. Okay, finally, the third thing that you need to highlight and look for is which time periods it's asking us to compare. Now, thankfully, because we've already figured out that we're looking for reactions to the plague in Britain, and we've only done case studies on 2 plagues, so the Black Death in 1348 and then in 1665, the Great Plague. So we know automatically that we're going to be looking to compare those two, the 14th and 17th centuries. However, the question might not be as focused as this. It might be more broad. It might just say, talking about public health, for example, or treatments. How did people's attitudes towards treatments in medicine change? So that's where, if the question is much broader, you need to really look for the 2 time periods and understand what happened in those 2 time periods. So you really do need to know your dates for this course. So now that we understand what we're looking for, let's have a go at actually answering the question together. So my top tip before you start answering this, always start by rewording the question back at them so the examiner knows that you fully understand the question and that you've got in your head which time period you're looking for, what the topic is, and whether it's a similarity or a difference. Then choose what reaction to the plague, so for our specific question, which we're looking for reactions to the plague, you will be focusing on, and state it clearly. This means that you are clearly focused on the question. Okay, so just a little opening sentence. I've put reactions to the plague were similar in the 14th and 17th centuries, as in both time periods people used religious methods to try and combat the plague. So once you've stated the reaction to the plague or whatever the topic is that you are focusing on, you must then give a detailed example from both of the time periods. So let's start with the 14th century. I'd always start with the one that's first in the question. So I've put down here, following on from our sentence before, for example, in the Middle Ages, when the first plague struck in 1348, a group called the Flagellants went around whipping themselves and praying to God for their sins. As they thought God was the cause of the plague, they believed that by doing this, they would not fall ill and the plague would go away. So make sure as well, whatever examples you give, they're focused on the thing that you said you were going to focus on in your opening statement. So because I've said that I'm going to choose to focus on religious methods to try and combat the plague, so religious reactions to the plague, I have therefore given an example of where religion has been used to try and combat the plague. So it's no use giving a random example, say what people thought about the astrological causes of the plague if I've chosen to focus on religion, because that's not following through, that's not very well linked. Okay, now that we've done that, we can add an example for the 17th century. So down here at the bottom, I'm just adding on from where I left off before. So similarly, in the 17th century, the belief that God caused illness was still clearly apparent. When another major plague hit England in the 1600s, people once again began to pray to send the plague away. This belief that God was the cause can also be evidenced by the fact that many painted a red cross on the doors of those who had contracted the plague. Okay, so again, following through with religion. If I got asked, say, a difference on this one, kind of difference in reactions to the plague, okay, I would open it up by saying people use religious methods in the 14th century, and I would choose something else like astrological causes or miasma in the 17th century. Okay, so you can do it that way, and then obviously give the two different examples if you get asked about a difference. Why don't you pause the video and have a go at applying the same method to some of these questions at home? So I've highlighted for you in red the topic. So like I said before, some of them might be more broad, where it says ideas about the causes of disease, for example. I've highlighted in green for you whether it's a similarity or a difference, and I've highlighted in blue which two time periods you need to compare. So have a go at some of them at home. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pre-History Hub.